My name is Bryant Chase. I'm the Director of Social Media at CareerArc. And today on this episode of Help Wanted, we're going to be talking to Natalie Brodie. So Natalie Brodie is absolutely a fantastic person for so many different reasons, but she is likable, she is approachable, she is kind, and it's something that I think we can all agree this world needs a lot more of. So throughout the episode today, we're going to talk about leading recruiting from a place of kindness and how that can benefit on both sides of the spectrum. So candidates can benefit from that, recruiters can benefit from that, and then we all as a whole benefit from that in a really, really special way. As we're talking through this today, I would really appreciate it if you shared where you're joining us from. So I'm based in Los Angeles, and then we'll learn where Natalie's based from in a minute. And we also have, who's helping me today for this episode is Marissa Gonzalez. Marissa is I always refer to her as my behind the scenes queen. And she is also just an absolutely fantastic person. We're so fortunate to work together in this space. But the whole series for Help Wanted is just trying to connect people in the recruiting industry, talent acquisition industry, employer brand specialists with maybe new ways of thinking and how their personal lives impact their professional lives and how all that circles back to ultimately benefit us. So we've been out for a few weeks. I was sick. Thank you for coming back with us. But without further ado, I would really like to introduce Natalie. So Natalie, thank you for being here today. Do us a favor, tell everybody who you are, what you do for your work, and also where you're joining us from today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Natalie. I'm a client success manager at CareerArc, and I'm joining you today from Boise, Idaho. I think that surprises people most of the time when I share that.
You gave us a good example of A, I was surprised that you're based in Boise, and B, I was surprised that you pronounce it Boise instead of Boise.
Yes, people are from here if you say Boise, not Boise. But yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. One of my best friends on the East Coast, when we met traveling in Asia, she was like, I can't believe you're from Idaho. You're too cool to be from Idaho. So let the record show there are some cool, kind people in Idaho.
Idaho is a pretty cool place, and Boise is actually also a really cool place. I've been there once before and had a great time. It doesn't get the credit it deserves.
People do say that everyone here is so nice. We're so nice because we just, maybe it's changed over the past few years. I hope we're all still nice, but maybe not as busy, slower pace of life.
I think that's the thing about the world as a whole, though. Like the world has been pretty exhausting the past few years, especially. And you're kind of like, I hope that everybody is still nice, but it's kind of like our mission to make sure that everybody is still nice and kind and that we lead from that place.
Always.
And that's one of the things that's so special about you. So you work with clients, you work with recruiters every single day. The number of client support messages that we get about clients coming to us being like, I just want to say thank you. Natalie is always on. She is always helpful. She's always this. She's always that. We get tons of them, and we release a lot of them on Friday. So if you look at our social posts on Friday, we did one for Mariah Chan, who's also just an incredible human being. So it just radiates sweetness. But how did you get it? Like, you have a reputation for being super likable, approachable, and kind, but also you're really funny as well. That's another great component. But how did you did you get all that from living in Boise, or is that from how did you get that reputation?
Yeah, the joke is that people who are funny had childhood trauma. So all jokes aside, there can always be some truth behind that. I mean,
guilty.
You naturally maybe make jokes as a coping mechanism, who knows? But I'd say I'm generally a really happy, really fortunate person. But definitely, I'm a big jokester. And I also think that you can be professional and funny. It can really relax somebody who might be nervous or a little more structured. So I do definitely like to add in some humor into my interactions with clients whenever possible. I mean, we both are sitting there with a job to do. We're going to get it done, but why not just enjoy 30 minutes a little bit more?
Absolutely. I just reached out to a woman named Ruby Uloa, and she had posted on the Facebook Human Resources group just a fantastic, relatable meme. The Facebook Human Resources group is a great spot, even for recruiters and non-recruiters, just in the industry alike. And I reached out to her on LinkedIn. I was like, listen, you get it. Like, thank you for infusing my day with a little bit more humor. And that is allowed. It ought to be allowed a lot more often.
And she was just more approachable for you, a person who she doesn't know. You don't know her, and you felt like you could approach her.
Well, that's the thing, is that she made social media social. So I was like, you inspired me to reach out. Like, I know that you get my humor, like you speak my language, and I appreciate that. And I think that's one of the interesting things about you. So you got into Career Arc. Tell us about how you came to your job at Career Arc.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really doing some big soul searching at the time, and I just kept having the word strategy. Every year I come up with a word that I want to focus on in my personal life and in my career. That was inspired by a friend of mine. So the word I just kept hearing was strategy. And then, a big emphasis on my position here is strategy, social recruiting strategy. And so I just knew I wanted a job where I could use my strengths, which are people. I like people. I've always worked in client services in some capacity, even all the way back to college being a server. You're still client facing, you're forming relationships that is, you're going to get better tips if you're bonding with them and you're having a good time and they like you. And it's trickled all the way up to what I'm doing now, which is people first. I think that business needs more of that. It's not always just about getting the job done, but if you can form a relationship with people along the way, it's more enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah.
I also feel like, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're speaking in a way that also I think is directly something that recruiters deal with and talent acquisition professionals deal with, is that so much of their jobs require them to do things that limit their ability to have those human connections with people. But your whole career is oftentimes built around developing human, it's a really important component of the career.
Yeah, they're the first impression of a company, and they need to be likable. I mean, they get on a call with a candidate, whether, it's a screening call or an interview. I mean, even if you're a recruiter and you're talking to that person and you are recognizing they are not qualified for this job, or I can't hire this person, I can't bring this person to the client, this isn't the right fit, you could still make their day. It could still be good practice for them. It could still be a good conversation. What if you clicked and had something so wild, so out there in common, that you were bonded in some way outside of what you originally were on that call to do? You just never know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you really should just be kind. I mean, they're going to carry that energy into their next interview. And you're going to carry the energy or your last interaction to the next candidate who could be the one you want, who then doesn't decide they want to work for you because you were cranky and impatient with them.
Yeah.
It'll just keep going. Energy is real.
And that's the thing too, is I would never discredit anybody in this industry for being cranky and frustrated.
Yeah.
Oh my
absolutely.
gosh. The last several years have completely turned this industry upside down. And I think that's one of the things that I try and emphasize, is that, one of the things that we do is we automate jobs to social media, and that is a robotic task. And people are like, oh, I don't want a robot posting on my social. And I get that. And you shouldn't have just that, for sure. But it is really valuable to get those jobs in front of candidates and get employer branding content in front of candidates. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't still be personable with your presentation. And all it does is really just allow you to get to that point.
Yeah.
So even though our product is essentially a robot, it's a robot because it's just there to allow you not to be one. So you don't have to just be like, oh, I have to do this, and then I have to do this, and then I have to do this. It allows your personality to actually shine through.
Yeah. You can still automate your authenticity or your brand message.
Yeah.
Automate that. Be authentic. It'll still sound like you, but then you don't have to log in every day and type it out. If you're having a bad day, that positive post proactively made days before and scheduled will be there to support you.
Yeah, that's, I think, really, really smart. So being strategic about the content you post on social as a recruiter is really, really smart, because we can't be expected to be on every single day. So
nobody
we can
is.
have this safety net if we build out our posts in advance, and know that they're going to go out. They're quality post that'll connect with our target audience, our target candidates, and all those sorts of things, then you have the safety net to have a rough day and not let that be represented to your audience in a way that you're not totally comfortable with. And don't get me wrong, I think it's very important to share when you've had a rough day, and sometimes publicly and sometimes on LinkedIn, and how you handle it, I think, is really inspiring. I love those
About
stories.
how you handle it.
Yes. But sometimes in the moment, we all know that, like, when I'm upset about something, maybe it's not the best time to talk about it with another person. Like, let me calm down for a minute, think about what I'm going through and how I want to approach this, and then reapproach that later on.
Yeah, because you're human. We're human.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as best as we can be in this crazy world.
And it goes both ways. The person on the other end. So, we might be really stressed out and having a hard day. Recruiters might be really stressed out. They have the weight of the world on their shoulders, but it goes both ways. If you're a job seeker and you're interacting with a recruiter, put yourself in their shoes, try to be empathetic and recognize that they're busy, they have a job to do, and that it's not always personal. So if you didn't get the best version of that recruiter as a job seeker, let it go and don't carry that interaction or that energy into your next interview. It definitely goes both ways, being understanding of others.
This industry has two of the most stressed out groups of people interacting on a daily basis. So recruiters, talent acquisition pros, they're, with the industry being turned upside down, it's been a nightmare in a lot of ways. Like, it's so tumultuous, you never know what to expect. And then at the same time, on the other hand, is candidates who are either out of a job, which is extremely stressful. They have money woes, they have bills piling up, potentially they have health issues. Those are all things that, they're thinking about, but not really talking about. And sometimes the stress of that can come through to a recruiter at a time that isn't always appropriate. And I don't fault candidates for being like that either, just because it's the nature of the circumstances, and it's stressful. And it's one of the things I love about what we do is that we want to take stress away. We want to give you an opportunity to kind of circumvent the stressful aspect of what this is. And it works for candidates too, even though, like, this is a tool for recruiters. Candidates will also, it makes their lives easier, that they can just be, heaven knows, if you're looking for a job, but you're also scrolling social media in the meantime.
Exactly.
And then if you see a job post pop up in your feed, you're immediately going to be like, ooh, actually, that's a good reminder. I need to get back to my job search. I'm going to go ahead and apply to that job. That seems like a good role. And how nice was it that it just popped up in my feed and I don't have to go working for it all the time.
Yeah. Or when they're researching a company, you land on their social media page and you know what I mean? You're able to scroll through a bunch of different pieces of content. It's never about like one post. Like, you're not striving to post one perfect post. It's all about like this holistic strategy. So the candidates can really find that info on your social pages.
Yeah. And so some of the people that you work with, and I do a really great job of this. And I think I'm excited to really share this, is that we've got some of them. And Marissa, I think you're going to come on and show some examples of this while we go through it. And Marissa hosted the last Help Wanted and she crushed it. So we're going to bring her in now and we'll go through some of these examples that we have. So, hey, Marissa.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, everyone.
Marissa is absolutely fantastic. We adore her. If you all saw the last episode of Help Wanted, you got to meet her and see her interact. But so some of these accounts that we want to share with you are ones that you can get really good examples from. And we encourage anybody who is following right now, watching along, to go and give these people a follow for inspiration, because it's always nice, even if you're crushing it with your social recruiting content, it is really nice to see other people who are doing a good job, because they can give you a new perspective. So tell me about who's kind of first on your list, Natalie.
Yeah, so Grace. Grace is a healthcare client, and most recently what I love that they've been doing is they were sharing about their WISH program. So this is something that is going to be a post about their clients, and then what some of their existing employees were able to do, like an activity that they participated in with those patients. And it's really emotional and sweet, and it's just authentic content that you could not make up. So it really, to me, is just a really authentic way for them to share a little bit about who they are, what they do, what what makes them stand out. And everything they post, to me, it just comes off really true to their brand message. So if you're ever unsure of which direction to go with your content, we're always going to bring it back to being authentic. If it doesn't sound like you, or if you're selling something that's not going to be there when the candidate gets there, don't do it. Make it.
And this is actually, and let me make sure I get this to the right, I'm sharing the right screen for this, but Josh from A Grace, Joshua Riley, is fantastic. Talent acquisition specialist there. And if you follow him as well, you'll see some really fantastic, touching, heartwarming posts about employer brand and employer brand type content, but also job posts that are heartfelt as well.
Yeah. And, this is all automated through the tool. So we call it the employee advocacy program, where individuals, whether they're recruiters or people in the organization, they can opt into sharing this content, and it's already scheduled out on a calendar. Josh doesn't have to log in and do this himself. We can automate it, but it was still created by the company. So the messaging is authentic. And we were like, Marissa pointed out earlier, I said something about automating your authenticity. So that's a perfect example.
Yeah. And then this next one is from Mia from Cellular Sales. So tell us a little bit about her as well. And Cellular Sales.
Of course. Mia, once again, this is part of the employee advocacy program or brand ambassador program, where an individual's sharing content. And I love Cellular Sales, and they're a great example because all of their assets, they talk about employee stories. So you see employee testimonials, the quote on the image here. They really put an emphasis on telling stories. So if somebody was not able to feed their family or go to college or buy a house after they got their job at Cellular Sales, they were then able to do those large life milestones. So I think that's pretty powerful and impactful. And they put that into their social recruiting strategy.
Yeah. I love that. That's so heartwarming. And it takes us back to the whole concept. We had a Help Wanted episode with Arunima several weeks back where she talked about, like, a recruiter changed my life. And that's the thing, is that
sweet
professionals in this industry don't get the credit they deserve. Like, that's a big freaking deal. And I just love it. It makes me excited for what we do and getting the word out there more often. So the next one that we have is Tetra Tech. And tell me about this company.
Yeah, so Tetra Tech, they are a large organization with a lot of different divisions, and they do a really good job at sharing their employer brand content on what you see is here, a career page. So they're able to constantly fill this with employee testimonials or unique posts. The one you were just looking at was a job map. So they take our job map and they put in this instance, a group of all of their water positions. So these are maybe projects or proposals they want to share. And then a candidate can click on this post and interact with a certain job type on this map and see what's available. Yeah. So this is just another creative way to break up the job content. These tend to have good engagement when you use the job map.
Really, really interesting stuff, and also a really great way to share your content with recruiters on social. So this next one is from Jessica from Berea. Sorry, tell me how to pronounce it. I should know because heaven knows I
love pasta people, Barilla.
Yeah.
I'm sure in Italy they'll say like Berea.
Yeah. So tell me about this team as well.
Yeah. So Jessica, another brand ambassador or part of the employee advocacy program, they also post really good content on their Facebook careers page, but they are always putting an emphasis on DEI and LGBTQ types of content. So if it's not a job posting, they are mixing in really strong employer brand posts. So keep in mind, your post doesn't always have to be a job posting, but if it is, you can add in DEI through your captions, through your imagery, or you can do a unique post on its own to share something. In the past, they've also shared a post to, here's our DEI board within their organization, and you can read all about it here on our website. So once again, you're driving them to somewhere else that's not always a job.
And so that's the thing, is that we have people who strategize, our team members strategize with the rest of their teams. So tell me about Cognizant and Mathias, who you can see right here as well.
Yeah. So, Mathias, he does a great job at leading a team. So they have a dedicated team in place to focus solely on employer brand social recruiting strategy. so that their recruiters can focus on sourcing, interviewing, and not have to be social media experts. And we're able to automate all of that through our tool. We're actually posting to over almost 200 employee advocacy pages.
That's
pretty
fantastic.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, quality carriers. Tell us about them real quick too, because they have some interesting things for quality carriers as well.
Yeah, quality carriers, they do a great job emphasizing women in a male-dominated industry, I would say. So,
Ooh, no, we love that.
yeah, they do things like Women Wednesday. They also have a lot of driving jobs, CDL drivers, and I am guilty of this too. I would expect a lot of the drivers to be men. So I love that they're highlighting how many women are in the organization, what makes them so great. Yeah,
Oops, sorry.
It looks awesome. I know I heard an echo. I thought it was Marissa chatting with me.
I don't know where it is. I want to go ahead and give Mariah Bland a shout out for Women Wednesday. That's awesome. The interesting thing about the trucking industry is that I did some research on this. 60% of the jobs in the trucking industry are women. But
it's amazing. I had no idea.
Truckers only make up less than I think around 7% of truckers are women, of drivers are women. And I thought that was really interesting too. So these are some really fantastic examples that you shared with us today. I'm so appreciative, Natalie, for you taking the time to do that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and get us back to here. So we ran a bit over because it was just such good content. But ultimately, the message that we want to share with everybody watching today is we know things are stressed. We know things are overwhelming, and we are working really, really hard to kind of lead with kindness and give some kindness back to this industry and help be there to support you and our team. I hope that you can feel it from Natalie especially, but also from Marissa and myself. We care about what you guys are going through. We want to make your lives easier. And if there are any ways that we can continue to do that, please DM us with inspiring ideas or other good people to follow. We'd love to share it and provide more examples to the industry as a whole. So Natalie, thank you for sharing. Marissa, thank you for always being the queen behind the scenes, and to everybody viewing, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.